All right, everyone. Welcome again to the Global Health Corps informational session with the U.S. Program Manager, Hima Patel, and myself, Dr. Ariel Arguelles. We are so excited to have you here, and we're so looking forward to have the chance to tell you a little bit more about this fellowship, about the application process, and hopefully answer any of the questions that you might have about it. So I'm going to share my screen, and we'll get started. And if you can, while you're here, please put in the chat your name, where you're currently working, and where you're from. We would love to hear more about you. If you have questions during any part of the session, we will be having a Q&A towards the end, but please feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll be sure to pop it up for our panelists here. Once everyone can see my screen, perfect. We'll get started. Hima, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you so much. So before we dive into the nitty-gritty details of the U.S. Fellowship, I just wanted to give a bit more of an informational session on what GHC is, zoom out and share that information with you all. At Global Health Corps, we envision a world where every person lives a healthy, dignified life. Our team and community is super united in the fact that we believe that that health is a human right. Apologies there. Given that, our mission is to mobilize a diverse community of leaders to build the movement for global health equity. And I'm going to share a little bit more about how we do this. Next slide, please. Many folks on this call might be familiar with our Africa Fellowship. Through this program, Global Health Corps recruits, places, and trains young professionals from 13 countries across sub-Saharan Africa to serve in high-impact global health roles in Malawi, Rwanda, Uganda, and Zambia. In 2023, we were super excited to launch our U.S. Fellowship Program. This program has been developed in alignment with our mission, vision, and values for achieving global health equity. This fellowship is designed with the U.S. context in mind, and it does differ from the Africa Fellowship. Most notably, it is not a placement-based fellowship. Fellows are already working in non-clinical public health settings, and the U.S. Fellowship is designed to be done in tandem with their full-time jobs. Next slide, please. Thank you. In the U.S., we recognized that workers were burnt out from the pandemic and that many current professionals in the public health space were nearing retirement age. We know that there's a projected exodus of leaders during the next 5 years. Recent studies have shown that 44% of U.S. public health workers are considering leaving their job due to burnout. Meanwhile, the sector is chronically understaffed and struggling to provide for basic public health services. These deficiencies disproportionately impact people who are Black, Indigenous, and others who identify as part of the global majority, leading to staggering health inequities. Next slide, please. The GHC Fellowship is a leadership development accelerator fellowship program that's designed for emerging leaders aged 21 to 30 who are currently working in a non-clinical public health role in the United States. It's designed for diverse, high-potential emerging public health leaders who are already working in the field. And it's designed to help alleviate the issues we're facing in the U.S. public health system. This fellowship provides fellows with the leadership training, executive coaching, networking opportunities, and resources they need to excel in their careers and advance health equity. Next. Our U.S. Fellowship centers on emerging leaders who are already employed in a non-clinical public health role. And we believe that this opportunity will strengthen fellows' leadership and management skills, expand their network, improve their understanding of systems change, and increase their impact. We want to invest in emerging leaders who want to advance their public health careers in pursuit of global health equity. And the applications for our program open February 1st. If you're interested in applying, I want to make sure you understand the eligibility requirements. To clarify, you must be an emerging leader in public health, be aged 21 to 30 by June 15th, 2024, live in the United States full-time, be authorized to work in the United States, work full-time in United States-focused public health in a non-clinical setting, and have worked in your current role for at least 6 months at the time of application. We also have this fun QR code on the screen. Feel free to scan that using your device, and that'll take you to our website where you can scroll down and do a quick little eligibility quiz to see if you are a good candidate for our program. And if you, thank you so much. And what's really exciting about our fellowship program is that we are lucky to have an amazing first pilot cohort. And we have some fellows here with us today to share a bit more about their experiences. This year, our cohort is 30 fellows strong, and they are majority women, majority people of color, and represent 17 states across the United States and Washington, D.C. And they work across sectors in public health. They're all such interesting, smart, collaborative individuals who we are thrilled to have in our fellowship. And we're excited to recruit more similar folks for our next cohort cycle. So I wanted to share a little bit more about what the fellowship entails. Through our fully funded 12-month fellowship program, all fellows must commit to 6 to 8 hours of monthly virtual workshops, small group learning, and independent learning, which is within that 6 to 8 hours of monthly time commitment. The monthly virtual workshops are designed around the pillars of authentic, collective, and systems leadership. We also provide a wonderful 360 assessment, which allows fellows to really understand their strengths as a leader and areas for growth. They also have access to executive coaching, where they have one-on-one coaching sessions with someone that is specialized in leadership development. And then there's also the opportunity for 2 in-person retreats, one in the fall and one in the spring. We also have independent learning through reading, writing, and reflection, and networking and collaboration opportunities with our Africa Fellows. And there's also an opportunity for continued learning and development throughout. All participants receive coaching and support throughout the GHC Fellowship and beyond. And there is no cost to participate for fellows, including travel to and from the retreats. We also partner with supervisors of fellows, providing information and resources, as well as opportunities for feedback. At the completion of the fellowship, fellows will be integrated into GHC's lifelong global network, which includes over 1,200 alumni spanning 40 plus countries. Ariel, over to you.
So just to reiterate some of the key dates that Hema has just talked about is that February 1st is when our application opens. During this informational session, we'll also give a little preview of what some of the questions might be for the application. By February 22nd, we're having our priority application, which means if you're interested in the Global Health Corps US Fellowship, that is the date to shoot for. That is the date, and if we're going to prioritize our applications. We will review and receive applications up until March 14th, but if you really want to be sure to put your hat in the ring, please make sure to aim for the February 22nd application date. May 30th is when we have applicants that they'll hear back about their status. June 12th will be when our fellowship kicks off. And then May 2025, the fellowship closes and you officially transition to GHC alumni, which, as I like to joke with our current fellows, I also work with the I'm a U.S. Community Impact Senior Coordinator, so I work with the U.S. alumni. You are a fellow for a year, but you are mine for life. So I really look forward to the chance to have you be a part of the community and to really have, as Hema was talking about, that incredible network, that something that we talk about in the Global Health Corps Fellowship for the Africa program. Once a fellow, always a fellow. You are learning and you are growing, but this is not how we see it as just a one-year experience, but rather your one-year experience as a fellow is a transition to being part of a global, connected community of public health leaders who are committed to providing health equity and justice. And so in that, I am so proud and excited to introduce our fellows from this year. This is just a few who are going to be speaking a little bit more about their experience, speaking a little bit more about where they're from and what brought them to the fellowship. I would love to introduce them, but I will have them do it for themselves. Simone, Brenda, and Precious, if you don't mind. Simone, please feel free to introduce yourself, then Brenda, and then Precious, and then we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to see all of your faces and names and where you're located in the chat. My name is Simone Sneed, and I'm a current U.S. Fellow. I am based in Glenside, Pennsylvania. So if you're not sure where that is, it's right outside of Philadelphia. I am currently working at March of Dimes as a mission programs manager. I'm also a birth and postpartum doula. So, given where I work and what I just said, I'm sure that you can tell that maternal and child health is definitely my jam. I have been having such a wonderful experience in the fellowship, so I'm so happy that you all decided to join the call today to learn more about our experiences and learn more about the fellowship as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'm sure that we can all answer them as well.
Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Verinda. I'm also a current GHC US fellow. Me and Simone are actually in the same pod group. Um, I currently work at the Ripple Foundation based in Morristown, New Jersey. I'm also based in North New Jersey. Um, we are we are right outside New York, basically, so you can see it like that. Um, I've been at my current job for about a little over a year, and so fairly new to public health, systems change, and um, all of that good stuff that we'll get into later on. But excited to be a part of this cohort, excited to talk to you all and hear your questions, and hope you're excited about this fellowship as much as we are.
Hi everyone, my name is Precious Ukibu. My pronouns are she, her, and it's so exciting to see you all and just be here and get to share a bit of my experience, our experiences with you all, and just see you guys also have a lot of amazing experiences as well. Just if you get to get interested in the program. I am currently serving as the evaluation coordinator at the Public Health Institute. I am very passionate about the intersection between preventive health and medicine and global health through public health, which is a big reason why I'm here. And like Brenda was saying, we'll get into the details of that in coming questions. But I'm excited to be here to talk through my experiences with you all and just to hear what thoughts are in your mind and how we can be of help to help you get through, your decision process of this, if this is where you would like to be. So yeah, it's good to be here.
And with that wonderful segue, let's get started into questions. I should again reiterate that I had the wonderful chance to meet so many of these fellows, all the fellows on the call, when on our fall retreat, and it is so excited to build back on that relationship that hopefully, if you choose to apply, you will have this wonderful opportunity a year from now. It would be fantastic. So my first question is actually to the entire group. Is the idea and thought of what motivated you to apply for the fellowship in the first place? Love to hear. You all are, as our audience attendees know, you have experience, you're dedicated and committed to different aspects of public health. You all bring such wonderful things to the table, and you have a wealth of choice in the United States of many different types of fellowships that you can choose. What brought you to Global Health Corps and what made you want to be a fellow? So we'll get started with Precious, actually, if you could go first.
Okay, sure. So I actually applied to the Global Health Corps Fellowship in my final year of college. So I was in my final year last year, and I was just reflecting on my journey so far, my interest, like I mentioned before. And what was very poignant for me was the support that I got from just being around people who had similar interests, who had similar motivations, who were interested in like the topics in global health that I was interested in. And I knew that for the next step I wanted to take in my career, I wanted to be in such an environment that would stretch my skills, encourage me, grow me, and all of that. And so when I saw the Global Health Corps Fellowship and how it was focused on not just the professional side of a person, but also that personal growth, that nurturing, I felt like that was a place for me to get into, to get that growth that I was looking for, to get in touch with other minds and other networks that also are that place where they want to make tangible impacts, but they're also looking for, that great grooming space, or would I say, that place where they can be well trained and well prepared for what the world has out there in terms of leadership in global health and public health. So that was a big thing for me, just that space where I could get the collaboration, the nurturing, the motivation as well, the inspiration. And that was something I saw that stood out to me from this specific program, as opposed to some of the other ones that I've looked at. And it was one of the things that really pushed me to send it in my application.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Precious. Brenda, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I applied to the cohort when I first started my job, I saw the opportunity a few months afterwards, and I still felt pretty new to my job as we're doing a lot of work supporting communities and their change makers as well, a lot of systems change thinking. And so I was pretty new as I pivoted out of government and came into public health. I still felt timid and not sure about my place in my organization, not confident in my skills, not confident in public health and global health, really. And so I saw this opportunity and saw it be a good way to grow that confidence, grow my skills, grow a lot of my knowledge around what public health and global health really is. And really resonated with me to like want to meet other people who are doing this work, who have been in this work a lot longer than I have, and learn from them and learn um, a lot more concrete skills when it comes to leadership. As I said before, I felt pretty timid in my own voice and my own skills, and I thought it'd be a good way to really grow that confidence and really understand who am I, what am I trying to do, and who am I trying to be in my organization. And the Global Health Corps was a good place for that.
Thank you, Brenda. And last but certainly not least, Simone, what brought you to us?
Sorry about that. So my entire career, and I guess I'll put it into perspective, I turned 30 this year, so I was right on the cusp of possibly being ineligible if I had been born a year earlier. But my entire career has been maternal and child health. And while I know that it's my passion and my calling, I know for a fact that prior to me applying for the fellowship, I was operating in a bunch of silos. Everything I was doing was maternal and child health driven. I had been in public health at that point for about 6 years or so. So I felt that applying to the fellowship could really allow me to explore the horizons like of public health and bridge those gaps across sectors. Because everyone that I was talking to was talking about birthing people and what pregnancy looks like and making sure that we're monitoring what moms and birthing people are going through during the postpartum period. So our language was the same, but we were coming up against like those same problems. So I realized that, okay, I need to expand my circle. I need to meet more people. So I felt that the fellowship would be a really good opportunity to not only meet people here in the US, but in within like the Africa Fellowship as well, which has been amazing. And I really wanted to get the perspective of, those other disciplines. And, what I didn't understand when I first started out in public health many years ago is that the sky is the limit. Pretty much everything that you touch can be fused into public health. It's just about being creative and, speaking to other people and seeing how other people are doing things. So everything that we say, do, create, touch has the potential to impact somebody's health. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be a part of fellowship, excuse me. And that's why I decided to apply. I'm a nurturer. I love to meet people. And this was such a great opportunity to strengthen my public health skills and to network with people like Miranda and Precious.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simone. And that is actually a perfect segue to our next question. Now, this is broadly to anyone who would like to answer. What are some of the benefits in participating in this program that you didn't anticipate? Because so many of you talked about the things that you were looking for, what brought you into it. But now that you are a fellow and you're approaching almost the end of your fellowship, what's something that you have gained from it that you didn't think that you would?
I can go first. Um, One thing that I did not anticipate. So when I first came in, my expectation was that, oh yes, this is going to be a wonderful fellowship where I have the opportunity to grow professionally, period. Um, it wasn't personally, it wasn't spiritually, it wasn't emotional. And I think that this fellowship has done all of that. So I didn't feel that way until our retreat. And honestly, like our retreat being with other fellows and sharing our experiences and ways that we've grown and ways that we hope to grow. One has been the highlight of my experience thus far because it really helped me build those relationships. But I think that a lot of times when we go into a work environment, we don't necessarily think about ways that we should be vulnerable. And quite honestly, that's one thing that I do try to avoid. I try to avoid being vulnerable in the workspace. But our fellowship has turned into a family. Our fellowship has turned into a wonderful support system. And I didn't anticipate that when I first met my cohort. But even on our last like pod call, and our pods are our little pieces of family within the big cohort. We have real conversations about what's going on at work. Where are some places that we'd like to grow? What can we do to support one another? So for me, I mean, I wasn't expecting that from the very beginning, but also my growth. So we had an assessment very early on in our cohort, I guess I'll say, in our experience. And that assessment, the 360 assessment that Hema mentioned earlier, it told me a lot about myself. It really helped me to learn where I fell short within my team, different areas that I can improve, but it didn't just leave it there. It said, oh, okay, you do this very well. So there were areas that I would have never thought that I was doing well in that I actually was. And I think at some point we all suffer from imposter syndrome, but it wasn't like, this is what you're doing wrong. It's, okay, this is where you can improve, and these are the tools to get you there. So those are two things that I didn't expect from the very beginning, but I'm grateful for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simone. I have another broad question to anyone who'd like to answer is how has being a member of GHC impacted your journey? So Simone has talked a little bit about how she didn't expect to have this kind of greater than just professional development. And so speaking of that, pairing together to give Precious and Verinda, either of you, the opportunity to share as well, in thinking of that holistic view of how the fellowship has helped you in your current journey, be it professional or personal, for anything that you'd like to share, how do you feel that the fellowship has affected you?
I think it's helped me a lot in trying to slow down and be more intentional about where I'm working, why am I working where I'm working, and what kind of values and mission I like to have personally and professionally. And to echo Simone, like the connections we made at the retreat were so impactful that I also didn't anticipate making those kind of connections and impact in my personal life. Just like I felt so full from hearing about everybody's experiences and learning from them and connecting with them on a personal level that it just made me realize like we have so much time to figure out what our public health journey looks like and really stay true and grounded to a lot of the values that a lot of public health professionals have, but like we don't have the space or the opportunities to really grow them and have an outlet for them and put our passion and creativity into our work. So to connect with all of us at the retreat on what we need from our jobs, what we need from our personal lives, what we're looking for. It felt like we're not alone and we're all trying to figure it out, but also GHC has given us the time and space and the skills, like Simone was saying, to figure that out. And with our pod groups and with a larger cohort, it's been such a gift to like just connect on that and know that we're just not alone in any of this, and we all have a lot of the same visions and values. That it's just been great to hear and know that we are the future, and we're gonna be all right.
We
As
are.
cheesy as that sounds.
It's cheesy, but sometimes cheese always makes a meal taste better. So a little cheese in our life is never a bad thing. And I love, Brenda, that you're talking about how it makes you feel less alone. Because again, that is one of the reasons Global Health Course Fellowship has existed since its inception, both in East and Southern Africa and in the US. But they redeveloped this current pilot program that we have of this reimagined US fellowship program was created very specifically for that purpose. Because as we know, the US healthcare system is a different context than our countries in East and Southern Africa. We moved away from a placement model for that specific reason of acknowledging that US public health leaders have a tendency to burn out, they move away, they feel disconnected, and that's even more so for those who are considered part of marginalized communities, those who do not see themselves both physically, spiritually, personally represented in the higher echelons of nonprofit and global health work. And so that is one of the main reasons that Global Health Corps wanted to reimagine this US fellowship. And so it's so exciting to see and hear that's for our research and also for all of you who are interested in applying that we're doing what we aim to do, which is to make sure that young public health leaders are feeling connected, are feeling engaged, and are able to better understand how to continue in their journeys. So this next question is actually for Precious. I would love to hear, in this same vein, what is something that you feel the most proud of from having completed this fellowship thus far? Whether it be something within the retreat, something that you learned in a leadership academy, which for those who are in our audience, leadership academies are our monthly workshops that we have to connect together as fellows and as US program staff. What's something that you would say that you are most proud of from having been a part of the fellowship?
Well, thanks for directing that question to me. But I would say two things. Firstly, just the connections and conversations I've had. So I come from a more clinical background, and coming to the public global health space, I always wondered if there was as much space for innovation and young leadership. And, I always struggled with how I would fit into that, how I would, contribute into that, how I could be proud of the little things I was doing in that space. And then come in here, I meet these 29 other people and much more in the Africa Fellowship who are young people, who are in the public health space, who are innovators, who are nurturers, who are doing these cool and amazing things. And sometimes I just have a conversation with a person about like some ideas I have, some thoughts I have, some hot takes that I have. And just the reception, the mind rubbing, and all that happens there just makes me feel very comfortable, warm, and also proud that I'm able to hold down that kind of conversation. Also proud that, there are young people out there as well who are also wanting to make as much impact as I want to. And I also see the problems that are things that are important to me and see those things as things that they want to dedicate time and effort and skill to. So those conversations, and sometimes they're the littlest conversations, they're like the smallest things, and they just strike me as well. I'm very glad I had that conversation. It's contributed a ton to my personal and professional growth and just to my sense of purpose within what I want to bring to the space of public and global health. And I guess the other part of it would just be there's something we call the Leadership Academies, another very intentional and lovely programming we have every month at the fellowship. And I remember the last one we had was just kind of that end of year reset, rethink kind of time for me where, we had this amazing guest speaker, Dr. Alex Catino. And it was just that moment where I felt like someone was breathing life into a lot of things that every day you're going to work, you're going through like conversations and you feel like, oh, public health is sometimes it's too stagnant or it's too this or it's too that. And just seeing those monthly sessions and being able to get those resources from the GHE team, from the amazing guest speakers and get reinvigorated in some sense is also something I'm very proud of because when I then reflect on my month, there's this time stamp that is just like, okay, I see an energy boost and I can see how that has contributed to my person as a professional, as a personal, as an individual, and how that has really boosted the work that I'm doing and the work that I hope to do. So those are some of the proud moments I've had, and I'm glad that they're just like these little bits that do make a big ripple effect in my life.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Precious. And I love to hear so much of your experiences and the way that you feel that it is just refreshing for yourself as it is for me to participate and to be a part of this. And so now I'd like to transition to application questions in our last 5 minutes. This is to anyone. I know our application for those who are interested, it will be fairly similar. So Verinda, Simone, and Precious, you won't be answering questions that they also won't see. You are the first to complete this application process. We're not going to go into the nitty-gritty of the platform and all of that, but more conceptually, when you're thinking of like when you're creating this application and you're wanting to be a part of this team, what is something that you wish you had known before you applied? Like something that you had wished that you could think, man, this would have made my application stand out more, which of course you are here, but something that you're thinking, man, I wish I had thought about that, or I wish I had included that as part of my application when I was getting in there. This is questions for anyone who would like to answer.
Okay, I could share briefly. Um, One of them would be, I wish I hadn't focused too much on what I did, what I hope to do. Because even in what JC says, it's looking for emerging leaders. They're not looking for leaders who are already formed and shaped and all of that. And so one thing I would encourage is as you put your application together, don't underestimate what you've done and don't underestimate where you're headed, your goals, your passion, your interest. Explain those in the application, communicate those. I think one thing I've learned is, or one thing I've seen is this encouragement to bring that interest, that goal, that foresight to the fellowship, and then give it the space to then grow you and lead you in that direction. So definitely don't belittle like what you've done and what you hope to do. Share it as authentically as possible within your application.
Thank you, Precious. Simone, Brenda?
Yeah. So one thing that I wish I knew when I applied, I would say it's okay to be your authentic self. That's what I kept telling myself throughout the entire process. I think a lot of times when you do a lot, sometimes people may say you do too much, but that's never the case. I think that we all work really, really hard to make a difference. And that's why you're here, because you want to make a difference. So um, I would say for me, that was kind of like my foundation. It's why I do what I do. It's why I applied, and I really wanted to showcase that through my application. So I would say that I wish I felt more confident at the very beginning to know that that was okay. Because while I did convey, this is who I am, this is what I bring to the table, um, I think one thing that I'm grateful for about, and I say the word grateful a lot, clearly, this is a wonderful fellowship, but you're a piece of the puzzle and you're going to meet so many other amazing people that can complement your work and strengthen the skills that you already have. So I would say that that's one thing I wish I knew when I applied. So you're going in confident, you're doing a wonderful job in the work that you're doing now, but you can only go up from here. So that's one thing that I wish I knew. I wish I had that initial confidence. I wish that I knew last year, um, how different this year would be.
Thank you, Simone. Brenda, anything to share?
Really not much to share. I also wish I had, the confidence to really be more authentic. I feel like I was just shy of like saying, I don't know much about public health. I don't know much where I want to be. I know I want to be in this space, but I don't know where to start, I don't know where to begin. And I think I alluded to it, but I also was just very shy. Like I don't know what I want. But I knew what kind of change I wanted. So I think just putting in your vision, putting in the passion that you have for this work is really important because I think that will help drive the growth you want to see if you're in the fellowship. So the passion, your vision for yourself personally and professionally are all things that you want to include in the application.
I love that you're like, oh, I don't know if I have a lot to share. And then you just give like the biggest drop of wisdom right there. See, that is one of the benefits of being in the fellowship is that we see even now the ability to know what you don't know and to ask the right questions, because as Verinda put it perfectly, even if you feel like I'm not sure if I'm qualified or if I've heard from the panelists and if these are the kinds of people that make it, maybe I'm not in the capacity to do it. Or as Verinda even said, I'm not really sure what I want to do, but I know I want to be here. Communicating that within your application questions, within your essays, within the video application that will also have a component, a part of that, that will help us as the US program team to be able to better see like where you fit, how you fit, and if this is the right fellowship for you, making sure that, again, that this application process and this fellowship, wanting to be a part of your journey to make sure that it benefits you just as much as it would benefit us to have you a part of our community. And so with that, we're going to transition now back to Hema so we can talk a little bit more about the application process.
Thank you so much, Ariel. And I know we've been getting quite a few questions in the chat. I've been trying to answer them as best as I can. But we will definitely take some time to answer them verbally as well right after this. I want to thank our fellows for sharing their authentic selves and sharing their journeys with our fellowship program. As you can see, they're amazing, and we're just so grateful to have them. To echo Simone, I can't stop saying grateful either. So a bit more about our application process. It is an online application. We will be sharing, and I think Ariel will drop in the chat, a preview of our application form. There are a few essay questions to answer with short responses, as well as a short 1-minute video submission. We've included guidelines on that process as well. So please know that we are here to support you as you apply. We have our own email address, usfellowship@ghcore.org, where you can submit any questions you might have that might not get answered today. All right, with that, I want to open the floor for questions. I've been collecting a few of them as they've come in. One of the questions we've been receiving is about flexibility and age requirement. So unfortunately, our age requirement for this fellowship program is ages 21 to 30 by June 15th. So unfortunately, if you turn 31 before that June 15th deadline, you are ineligible, or if you are still under 21 at June 15th, 2024, you're ineligible to apply. And we sincerely apologize for that, but we hope that you are able to apply and join us next year. Another question we've been receiving from Belinda is, can you be from Africa and still apply? That's a great question. So we require our fellows to live and work full-time in the United States. However, we do not have a requirement for citizenship. So if you are authorized to work full-time in the United States, and if you have employment authorization to work full-time in the United States, you are eligible to apply. However, we are not accepting applications for fellows who do not live full-time in the United States, do not work full-time, work in clinical public health roles. So we're only accepting applications from fellows who work in non-clinical public health settings. So that means not working directly with patients. So examples are like nurses or doctors who would be ineligible to apply.
Another question, Hema, that we have in the Q&A is, who will be reviewing the applications and how many people? Alum, staff of GHC, or non-affiliated public health professionals?
Do you want to take that one, Ariel?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So our application process, of course, like you apply, and the reviewing process actually undergoes 2 different types of reviews, if not 3. We have the initial screening and reviewing application from GHC staff. This is usually very broad to make sure that we're, again, making sure that people are eligible, that they're able to apply, that they meet their requirements, and it's just making sure that first screening process, that it's meeting the basic requirements. From there, we actually invite the opportunity that our current fellows will have next year. We have our alumni community be a part of this. This is the application process. We try to be as non-biased as possible, or the review process non-biased as possible, reading the responses, really getting it. Because again, as we say, the Global Health Corps is a fellowship. It's not just a professional organization that you get in, get it out, and then you peace out. We see it as a community. We see it as building together health equity and being able to do so by having that kind of interconnection. So we have the alumni community that we have within the US who volunteer to be able to review applications. And then from there as well, for that third and final screening, you have the US program staff, which would be Hema and myself, as well as also Managing Director John Cape could also be potentially a part of it, to give us the chance to really see like who is applying, what are they looking for, and how does it continue to meet the goals of what GHC is looking for, and also what we're going forward. There's no outside affiliates. There's no way for someone to say, oh, I don't like this person. Da, 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 da. We try to make the process as fair, as equitable as possible, and anonymous as possible up until we get to the video submissions. And the video submissions are actually a new part of the fellowship, done specifically because so much of the US fellowship process is virtual. As Simone had mentioned, like for the beginning of the fellowship, a lot of it is just via Zoom. And then when you get to the in-person retreat, it's like, yes, I can put actual human connection with the human connection I made on virtually. one part of the video application. That's why that's been included and why that would be reviewed on the final process once everyone has made it past the anonymous screenings, is to ensure that we have the kind of people that we're looking for, not in terms of bias, not in terms of discriminating people, but ensuring that you're able to complete the fellowship, that you have access to the kind of technology, that you're able to communicate via Zoom, really making sure that we provide that access and that accessibility. So I hope that answers your question, Candace. But of course, if you or anyone else have any other questions, please let us know. I do think there are a couple more questions in the chat. Hema, maybe this is a question for you. How many total applicants applied for the current cohort?
We had hundreds of applications. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, with quite a few applications for this current cycle. This year, our cohort was 30 fellows strong.
And another question is, are interviews required as a part of the process?
Great question. So interviews are not necessarily required, though we will select certain promising candidates for interviews. So there is the possibility that you will be tapped in for an interview between February 22nd, our priority deadline, and our selection process. We hope to share results and tell interested candidates whether they've been selected or not by the end of May. And I saw a question in here: if you've applied before and were not selected, can you reapply? Certainly, we welcome folks to reapply if you're still meeting eligibility requirements. I got a question from Juliet. Will you be able to speak more about the global partnerships formed with GHC fellows outside the US during the fellowship? What does that look like? Great question. And perhaps our fellows can answer some of these questions as well. We have the opportunity to have Leadership Academy workshops. These are our 3-hour virtual monthly workshops that we have with our fellows, in addition to our 2 in-person retreats. And a few of our Leadership Academy workshops that are monthly are alongside our Africa fellows. So in those workshops, we build time for fellows to connect with one another virtually across that landscape. We also have a wonderful portal called GHC Connect, which Ariel heads up, where fellows can tap into our vast network of GHC alumni and current fellows. So fellows are really encouraged to speak to one another, share their goals, brainstorm with one another, network. And the GHC Connect portal is a way to formally see all of the fellows that we have, as well as our alumni, see where they're based, see their interest, and learn from one another. But we also have opportunities throughout the fellowship year to build those networks and build those partnerships. I don't know if I see Precious nodding, if you want to elaborate or share anything else related to that.
Oh yeah, Hima was just mentioning about the Africa Fellowship, and I've been very delighted to just meet a couple of people there and engage with them. Even outside of the Leadership Academy, we have some other skill-based groups where you can connect and interact with fellows from Africa as well. So partnerships like that. We also have like speakers, guest speakers that are not necessarily always from the US. So it's always interesting to also connect with people working in different global health issues around the world and see what that partnership could look like. And yeah, one thing I'm trying to harness a bit more this year is the JC Connect platform, which has just a ton of people that are all around the globe. So when you get here, you've got like a ton of opportunities to really get into global partnerships within fellows, alums, and just, general partners that we've had over the years.
Thanks, Precious. See, I'm looking through the chat, and we have about 10 more minutes for questions, so keep them coming. We'll be happy to answer as many as we can. And just reiterating, please feel free to email us at usfellowship@ghcore.org if we are unable to answer your question at this time. Belinda has a question. Do GH Core fellows from Africa attend the retreats as well and the workshops? Great question. So we have select workshops that Africa fellows are able to attend. However, the retreats are separate. So Africa-based retreats occur in Africa within the country sites where fellows are working. And there's a blend there of cross-country retreats as well as regional retreats, which we're continuing to evolve and be responsive to the needs of the community. And in the United States, our retreats are specifically for our US fellows. So we have a fall retreat, which is 4 days, and our spring retreat is also about 4 days, and they are opportunities for US fellows to actually meet in person outside of these tiny screens that you're seeing here, and connect. And we build out a lot of great content as well as opportunities for connection and networking, community building in our retreats. Hope that answers your question. Let's see. Any other questions, Ariel, that you're seeing?
One question that I see in the chat is I think you said how many applicants were selected. Do GH Core from Africa attend the retreats as well and the workshop? Do alumni get to reapply for the fellowship? That is a great question, Belinda. Unfortunately, once you've applied for the fellowship and completed, you can't continue it again. But speaking from on behalf of the US, at least US alumni community, that is one, again, the many benefits of joining the program, that if you're accepted into the fellowship, you are accepted into the GH Core community for life. And that's one of the great things that I'm really looking forward to for this current cohort and moving forward, is to really re-energize and revitalize our US alumni community, who GHC Core has been an organization since 2009. So we have fellows and alumni who have now moved on from being emergent public health leaders and are now the VPs and C-level suite actors within their communities. So they were Global Health Corps Fellows in 2010, and now they're the ones who are running the nonprofits and running organizations. They're the ones who are forwarding nominations to join the program again. And so that is the ultimate goal in our strategic planning, is to ensure that we have this continued growth and this continued development of our fellowship community, that the fellowship, again, becomes this point of connection, that you have this really intensive year of meeting every month and connecting with people both within the country and then East and Southern Africa. But then once you graduate, that it's again, it's not the end, that you have that opportunity to, yes, to find job network connections and be able to find friendships. But you also, as Verinda was talking about, you have this feeling that you have people that understand what it's like. They understand the same curriculum, they understand the same growth, that even if, and they do come from all aspects around the world, all different types of cultures, we're all bonded together with this wanting to help eradicate health injustice, that we're looking for health equity, and we're working, not just looking for it and aiming for it, but we're doing the work to complete it. And so that's one of the many benefits of being a part of the fellowship and being a part of this community, is that you join not just for a line on your resume and join not just for 1 year, but you really join for the opportunity to really have this strong, really vast, massively connected network that now spans over 1,500 people all across the world. So I hope
No,
that
once
you're
a fellow, always a fellow.
Hmm?
Oh, sorry, I was saying once a fellow, always a fellow. It's
Yes,
never
once a fellow, always a fellow. So I hope that if you're eligible and you're still on the fence, you're like, I'm not really sure, I hope that you consider, because we would love the opportunity to have the chance to review your application and to see if you would be a great fit for our community. Now, Hima, I think we have one more minute, but I do think we have another
I think we have a couple minutes.
question.
Yeah. So I see here, what are some of the skills and experiences you look for in an ideal candidate? That is a stellar question. For us, what is really salient and important, besides our eligibility requirements, which we really encourage you to take a look at that eligibility quiz we have on our website. We'll throw the QR code in our website back in the chat too. Outside of that, we are looking for fellows that are showing a lot of passion for working in the public health space, about making change in health equity and in global US public health, as well as having that mindset of global health, of how do you want to network and learn from one another? What gets you going in the day, right? Like, what are you passionate about? Simone spoke about her postpartum doula work, her work with March of Dimes. You can see how passionate she is about the work that she does, and it's resonating not just in her work life, but also throughout her life. And so for us, it's really exciting to see fellows who are really involved in the work that they do, or maybe they have a new project idea that they're working on. Maybe there's a skill set that they're hoping to develop. And something to note about our fellowship program is it's a leadership accelerator program, right? So what that means is we're not going to be teaching you really hard public health skills, though there are parts of our fellowship that are related to public health. We are actually here to help you build out your skill set as leaders. So we teach things like mindsets and mind traps, how to get unstuck, how to leverage your community, how to work with teams, how to engage in difficult conversations. And these are skills that we recognize are so important and vital for leaders, and for the next generation of leaders, particularly, that are not taught. You're not learning these skills, at class or in undergrad or in high school, but are so important to help you succeed in your roles and jobs. So I hope that answers your question about what we're looking for. We're looking for someone that has that passion, who has that drive to become a better leader and is working to develop those kinds of leadership skills that they're missing and are recognizing that they're missing. And are also willing and open to learning in a virtual format as well as an in-person format, and learn from one another, be a part of a community that's bigger than just them. Is the video submission a new component to the application? Yes, that is something that is new for our application cycle. We're requiring a 1-minute video responding to the question, why do you do what you do? For us, that kind of gets at that passion piece of just better understanding who you are as a fellow. We don't want your, full elevator pitch of like where you've been and your education and all that fun stuff. We'll see that in your resume. We'll see that in your other application questions. But for us, we want to understand who you are and what kind of passion you bring to the work that you do and what kind of interest you have in U.S. public health. Juliet, great question. Where is the in-person retreat based? Yeah, so our past fall retreat was in Boston and in Massachusetts broadly, and our spring retreat will be likely in Texas, but these are likely to change. So no guarantees as to where you'll be for the next year, just know it'll be somewhere in the United States. Great, I am looking at time. I have about 2 more minutes for questions. Any other questions that we can answer for you? Volunteer positions and what's a typical day look like for GH Core Fellow? So at this time, we do not have any volunteer positions, unfortunately, at GHC. And a typical day for a GH Core Fellow, great question. I don't know if there is a typical day. I think if I asked Simone and I asked Verinda and I asked Precious, they would give me completely different answers. As you know, our fellowship program is designed to be done in tandem with your full-time role. So that means that our fellows work in a variety of disciplines across public health in the United States. And so their roles are quite different, and their typical days are quite different. Great. Any other questions? Ariel, am I missing any?
None that I could see. We did have a question of how many days are the retreats. And as I replied to Abina, retreats are usually held over the weekend. This is again done intentionally, as Hema had said, that because U.S. fellows are in full-time jobs, we want to be also respectful of the time commitment that you're making for the fellowship and also for your careers. We make sure that it's usually between Friday evening with a leaving departure again in Monday, though of course we did have some fellows who were needed to leave on Sunday evening, that they were still eligible to attend the retreat. So it's always over the weekend. It's 2 retreats. And a point to remind people, while the fellowship, there's no stipend that was received by the fellows, those trips to and from the retreat and all that is required and entailed with those retreats are fully funded by GHC. So you as a fellow, if you were to apply and accept, would not be responsible for paying for your flights, paying for your food while you're there. That is all covered as part of the fellowship.
Wonderful. Thank you for answering that, Ariel. Shall we move to our closing slide?
Yes, let us do that now. I can get this here. There we go. The wonderful things of tech. There we go. All right.
Just wanted to share with you all, and I think, Ariel, is this you? I think this might be you. Yeah, go ahead, Ariel. Sorry, I was overstepping.
No, you're totally fine. As Hipa had said, like this is just one final slide again to talk a little bit more to close us out. That if you have any questions that weren't answered in this, please feel free to email us at usfellowship@ghcore.org. Please check out our website. Our website, which is created by our wonderful comms department, has a wonderful spread that talks a lot about our FAQs, all of our eligibility requirements. They even have an eligibility quiz if you're not quite sure. Will give you a better chance to have a better sense of what's going on. While you were in this process, if you were joined our informational session and you think, oh, I might not necessarily be eligible, or maybe this isn't what I was looking for, that is totally fine. Thank you so much for being a part of our time here today. But if you know someone who would benefit from this opportunity, you know someone that, especially if they would not hear from it, they would not have the knowledge of it, we rise by lifting others. So whether or not you are eligible for this fellowship or not, it loses nothing to be able to spread the word and to be able to say, hey, I think you would also be a really good fit for this. Maybe we can be fellows together, or maybe you can do something that I didn't have the opportunity to do so. So if you use this QR code as well, you can nominate them. What that will do is that will send a form to us so that we can be able to contact them and invite them to apply. I should reiterate and make it very clear that you do not have to be nominated to apply for this fellowship. This is just another lever, another way to get people aware of the program and to get into the program. Because again, as we mentioned, part of the whole process of this Reimagined US Fellowship is that we want to be sure that people who are otherwise unable to have this kind of access to leadership development would have that access. So for those who have different socioeconomic backgrounds, those who have different marginalized racial identities, gender identity, sexual orientation, we're wanting to be sure that people who are working in public health, working in global public health, who would not otherwise have the opportunity to have the kind of leadership development that comes from working within institutions or having your own identities reflected at the upper echelons of nonprofit and government works, that they have this information to be able to do so. So please consider, regardless of whether you're eligible, again, we rise by lifting others. Please invite them to apply and to share the word. We would love to hear more about how our fellows are continuing doing. And it's one of the great things about Global Health Corps is once a fellow, always a fellow. It's repeated all the time because it's true that you will see that once you are part of the GHC network, you have that opportunity to just be a part of a community that is growing and is building and is changing public health any way that we can. So with that, I'm going to end our recording and thank you all so much for being here today.